Thank you.
Sir, we'll get to you. We'll get to you. Okay. Good evening, everyone. We're going to call this special call meeting for May 23rd to order. We have two items that were on the call. We also have two benign issues that need to be taken up. We're going to be in open session for the budget. We're going to have a discussion about waiving the yard sale fees for Blackstone residents, and we have a visitor. So I'm going to take up, we're going to take up the yard sale issue first. How you doing, Deb? State your name and your occupation for the record, please.
Deborah Rose, Executive Director, Chamber of Commerce.
Go ahead.
We are pairing with the 100-mile yard sale. We have some events that are planned on July 1st, and we want to make Blackstone the end destination of that yard sale. So we've got our fireworks that are going on that night. We'll have some entertainment. We wanted to ask that the yard sale fees be waived for Blackstone residents on that day as another way of encouraging citizens to participate in the yard sale and to help bring additional commerce to Blackstone. We are planning on having some entertainment in the DBI Love Square. We also wanted to ask if we could offer to residents that if they did not have a suitable place to have a yard sale, that we could give them space in that DBI Square. We're not charging for that. We're just going to rent it.
The use of the square.
We have.
Yep.
I'll make the motion that we approve to waive the yard sale permit fees for that day throughout town.
July 1st.
Mr. Nash has moved, and Mr. Gormas has seconded to waive the permit fees for the yard sale for Blackstone residents on July 1st of this year. Is that correct? I'll ask for a voice vote. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 7-0.
Okay. No issue with using the DBI Square either?
I beg your pardon?
We've already
We've already,
Yep.
yep,
Yes.
yep.
Yes. All right. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Sir, if you'd like to come to the podium, please. Ask you to state your name and address for the record, please.
Steve Kopchak, 201 Pleasant Drive.
What can we do for you, sir?
No occupation. All right, I'm not blind to anybody right now. I'm going bald here. I want to first orient yourself with where I live. Right here is 40, east and west. Here's the Exxon. I live right back in here. Mr. Nash lives a little bit behind me. 46 goes this way. And every single night and every single morning, I get the brunt of every single modified truck that goes up and down 46. The rear end of it. Now, granted, I am 576 feet from that intersection. 576 feet from that intersection. And I hear it inside my house. Now, what have I done to rectify the situation? As a resident, I probably shouldn't have to do too much, right? I should probably rely upon local law enforcement. But it seems like there's a DMZ line in Blackstone where law enforcement doesn't want to go over on this side of town. They always stay on the east side of the Dollar General for some reason, unless they get called over there or they want to go for lunch or go shopping at Walmart. I don't know what it is. So, not only that, every vehicle that comes down 46 booming their stereo goes right through my house. I've gone as far as to tear down walls inside my home and rebuild them, re-insulate them, put up thicker drywall to rectify this myself. And still, it vibrates the walls. I have sound machines that I try to sleep. It's still at 576 feet. Vibrates the walls of my home. And I'm sure everyone on this panel hears it. But everybody turns a blind eye to it. Do you know why catalytic converters are important to a vehicle? Does anyone on this panel know why they were placed on a vehicle? Emissions. Does anyone know the importance of hydrocarbons? What their impact on to the environment? I'm pretty sure the EPA would be interested to know that Blackstone turns a blind eye to these trucks running around here like they own the streets. Half of them are squatted, booming music, blowing hydrocarbons on children walking down the streets of Blackstone. So I listen to the scanner, like many of you probably do. And what do you hear? You hear a 1038. It's almost comical. They get pulled over for what? For going 3 miles over the speed limit. For not coming to a complete stop. I get it. I'm not placing on the police officers. They got to stay busy too. But what about the psychological effects? The mental and the physical effects of these trucks. The loud music it's having on the citizens of this town. When's it going to stop? When are we going to place the emphasis on that? Now, I believe that what we have done is we've lost the upper hand here in combating this in the element of knowing exactly how to combat it. We've identified there's a problem. At least I have. Many other people may not see it's a problem because they live in a luxurious $1 million mansion, maybe outside of Blackstone, that don't really give a crap. I give a crap. I moved here under the auspices that there was a noise ordinance in the town of Blackstone. There were signs up. All of a sudden, in the shadow of night, they're gone. Nobody knows where they're at. Every other town has them up, but Blackstone doesn't have them anymore. I moved here because of that. I also moved here because there was a noise ordinance. It seems like a quaint little town that I was hopeful that law enforcement would enforce the laws. So what I'm asking council to do is, if we're not going to enforce it, take them off the books. Let these teenagers or these grown-ups, let them just run rampant. Let them do whatever. And let's not lure people into the town under these fake. I mean, it's not healthy.
Well, first of all, sir, I totally agree with you that the loud trucks are a nuisance. But I do want to assure you that Blackstone is patrolled equally. There is no line that gets more coverage. We do have a few problem areas in town that we are now patrolling a little bit more than the rest of the town, and we're seeing some great results. But I can assure you that no neighborhood is discriminated against. I've worked with the chief for many years, and I know better. The emissions that you spoke of, sir, that's just not an area that the town has jurisdiction over. That's a federal or state issue. We don't have jurisdiction over that, and I appreciate your passion for it. Okay?
Mayor, you don't have jurisdiction over emissions?
No, we do not. No, we do not. We do have an ordinance, a noise ordinance in effect. And Chief Kuzmiak, I see you here. I'm asking you to the best of your ability to try to enforce the noise ordinance, make it a priority. And I hear it all the time, especially from that part of town. And do the best you can to your ability with the resources that you have.
Are there certain laws on the state level that prohibit, I know it prohibits a lot of what we would like to see in Blackstone, that prohibits us from stopping vehicles that are louder? At what point can we pull them?
Well, Mr. Nash, years ago, we used to be able, you remember, we used to be able to pull a vehicle over for loud exhaust. The state government passed that law and made a lot of violations, no longer primary offenses, no longer violations. stop for. However, that's done a reversal, and we can now enforce that again.
July
We are.
1st.
We met, spoke with Mr. Gormas, the town manager. We do realize the signs are not there like they should be, and we're in the process of either refining them or reordering them so we can properly put them up.
So I appreciate you bringing this to our attention. And as you can see, the president of council and I are engaging you, and it's very important to us, and we'll do what we can to, with what we have to work with.
And Chief, with the assumption if we put the signs up, we'll attempt to enforce the best that we can, correct?
Yes, sir, we will. And we're doing it now.
Yeah.
We're not getting everyone.
Correct.
But, yeah, it's a violation now, whether it's posted or not,
Yeah.
still a violation of law.
Yes, ma'am.
I wanted to add, first of all, my apology to you for having to endure that.
Thank you.
You're welcome, and I want to apologize to you personally because I come down 46. I go up and down it daily, and I come back late at night. I don't have a loud muffler on my car, but at the time of night I'm traveling that road, there are a lot of deer out, and so I blast my music because I've found out that's a way to get them to run away from the street and not to it. And over the 2 years I've been traveling, it's been keeping them out of my path. But when I get to the end of 46, I do turn it down because I'm home now and I don't need it anymore. But I understand where you're coming from. You may want to get in touch with DOT as well. It's going to be a lot of traffic from that way because a lot of people don't want to have to go all the way to Cambridge with the new detour, if you understand what's going on 46 now with the bridge, and see if they can find another alternate route. But I don't know. I can't see that coming solved as well because there's limited ways to get to that area.
Mr. Alman?
I think another issue right there is, if I'm not mistaken, it's one of the few areas in town that goes from, you go from a turn to 55 mile an hour.
Yes.
There's no,
Stomping.
there's no build up, there's no 25, 35, 45, or 35, 45, 55.
Actually, there's still 35
It goes,
and
it goes the other
45.
way.
Then
and
10th
then-
Street,
Yeah, but
think it
coming
only
in
goes
town
one
is
direction.
50
Oh,
to the
coming
left.
in, yeah.
It's
There's
50
no
miles an
45.
hour to the stop
55 when
sign.
you drop.
Can we, do we need to, does council feel like street and light ought to take that up?
Council is actually, and Philip will remember this, we have actually approved, and it's a council vote approved, that Main Street, entire Main Street, the speed limit be reduced to 25 miles an hour. But there were some concerns as to,
You have to step down at the entrances to town.
Yeah.
You can't just make it 55 to 25.
so
You gotta just 55.
I think it's a good point. I think you should refer it to Street and Light to go back to that vote and see.
Well, I'm talking about on 46 too.
Well, yeah.
Because I mean, if memory serves, it's 50 miles an hour to the stop sign.
It's
No,
what you
no.
leave- if you,
No.
if you're turning off of Main Street, if I'm not mistaken, it's 0 to, or it's
0 to 35.
35 to 55.
Right.
If you're coming the other direction, it steps down.
Steps
No,
down.
no, when
it
you
doesn't
turn
step
on to
down.
46,
It's straight.
it's 45 to 50. Once you hit that very sharp curve and go down that straight stretch between the two big fields, farm fields, that's when it hits 55.
Yeah.
But it's 50 before you get there.
What is it to the stop sign? Is it 50 all the way coming to town? Coming into town?
Coming in,
I think
I have
it's-
actually. Truth be told, there are no postings for.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think there's.
All right, so what I'm gonna
Yeah,
do,
those two
what I'm
right
gonna
there on
do,
the curve.
I'm sorry, Mr. Miller. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna refer this issue for the speed limits to Mr. Miller and his committee, Street and Light, and look into cutting the speed down right there. And while you're at it, if you wanna, take up the 25 mile an hour speed limit again and report back to council, is that agreeable to you, sir? Okay?
Okay, I still don't believe that's going to resolve the
Well, that's
issue.
part-
I mean,
that's
that's part of it.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the second tenet to that is the policing concern that I have.
Well,
And-
I just asked the chief.
Mayor, I totally concur. However, with monitoring the scanner and 2 weeks and no tickets issued in the paper in 1 year, 0 noise tickets issued. When every 5 minutes I'm hearing noise, absurdly loud noise, every 5 to 10 minutes, and 0 tickets issued. I have dispatched the police, and this is a strain on our resources. I have dispatched the police 15 times for loud music, 9 times for ATVs and golf carts on the main roads with no lights. And you know what happened? They were advised of the law. Now, in my experience as a federal law enforcement officer, there's two tenets, right? You advise of the law, then you do what? You enforce the law.
Right.
You talk to them about it, then you give them a daggone ticket.
Well, I can't speak for what happened before, but I can speak going forward, okay? Any other questions for the citizen?
I have some more, Mayor.
Okay, well, you've exceeded your time, and I snuck you in here, we've got a lengthy agenda. If you'd like to come back at our regularly scheduled meeting, you can sign up for the agenda, okay? Unless members of council want to hear from you, we're gonna move on. Hearing none, we'll take up the budget now.
I mean, I don't mind hearing them. Is it gonna be, I mean, it's up to the rest of
We're
the
gonna
council.
move on. Mr. Manager, we're gonna take up the budget now.
I mean, I'm getting gaffed off because nothing's going to happen. That's exactly why he's.
Well, I don't
just-
appreciate you making that accusation.
It's not an accusation, it's fact.
That I will look into it and I'll do the best I
fact.
can, okay? And
Same as the last mayor, so.
I'm not the last mayor, I'm me, okay?
All right, ladies and gentlemen. I have before you tonight a couple of things at your desk I wanted to point out for you. Modifying the agenda, but just to make some copies, and the first of which is the most recent effort put together correct information and provide it to the town of Crew for what capital costs would be and what the sale of water would be. At this point, just for your purposes, and it's not gonna affect the budget dramatically, but I wanted to get a copy of this in your hands so you can digest it. Jake and I are scheduled to meet with the town of Crew tomorrow at 6 o'clock, if I'm not mistaken. So our fire and water chairman and I, we have a regular scheduled, I think, monthly meeting that they canceled last month, but I think that, we're scheduled to meet with the town of Crew again tomorrow. But I wanted you guys to take a look at this, but I also want the record to reflect, until council votes on this, this is not a done deal. And I'm not asking you to vote on it tonight, I'm asking you just to take it, digest it, and I have given a copy of this to the Crew town manager, because I do think time is of the essence for the town of Crew, based on the machinations of what Prince Edward County is doing to them. And that is for informational purposes only. Digest, review, take a look at it. Second item, I received today, and if you look at the second. Old document. Yeah, we just got these today, and I've met with Brittany. She's got T-ball tonight in regards to personal property tax relief. If you guys remember last year, the county notified everybody that the 60% relief that had been granted by the county and by the town had been kind of perpetual since probably the early 2000s, and it was supposed to adjust at some point, okay? The county, if I'm not mistaken, did some adjustments, and I think they're proposing to go to 45% this year, if I'm not mistaken. I don't want to put words in the county's mouth, but I think that that's what they're proposing to do, okay? You can see 4 different charts there, and if you look in the lower right-hand corner of the printout on each of them, the first page should say 39% PPTR. Okay? That is, based on what the Commissioner of Revenue told us, what the actual should be based on what was adopted years ago and what the relief
Last
from the
page.
state is.
It's our last page.
And last page, Al.
That's our last page, okay.
So you see there's 39. That would be true equalization. She's also run us 3 additional, one at 60%, which is our current,
That's the first page,
one at 50%.
second page.
Where on these does it show, obviously I see where it says 50%, 60%, whatever. Where does it show what addition to our revenue it would be? I see the numbers all are the same to me on each page.
If you look at the total taxable value of vehicles, that's that 181,210. And you can see that stays consistent on all 4 different scenarios. Okay? I think
Except the
you-
39%, it's $4 off. Yeah,
45%, it's $4. Well, more than that.
whatever.
Excuse me, but
31
let's
mil.
use 181. I'm parroting what percent. I didn't catch that. I apologize. The difference, and you can see we're pretty close on budget. We budgeted $115,000 for personal property tax receipts this year. So the 181 minus the 67, I'm pretty darn close to our 115. Okay. Same thing if you go to 50%, 56 from the 181. Okay.
I'm confused. What is the county doing?
I think they're at the 45.
45.
So if we were to follow the county, you're gonna see a $17,000 tax increase. I'm
Am I
okay.
advocating for it?
$17,000 increase on our citizens.
Well, I was going,
I think if you drop to 39, it really was, what, $23,000, Chris, that we talked about?
Yeah, we had 3,400 tax bills, so it reached out to about $40 a person at 39.
Our budget that we're talking about tonight is based on 60% at 72 cents.
I think if we have enough money, and I mean, I'm gonna be the conservative guru here. If we have enough money to not have to increase taxes to do our fluff projects such as ditches and stuff, then we should keep it at the 60% relief rate.
And speaking to Christie today, you can't go lower than 39, but you can go higher than 39, okay? And our recommended budget is 60% relief at 72 cents.
We needed the
It shows
money.
115,000 revenue.
I'm fine. If the town needed the money to do our daily services,
General fund.
yeah, if we needed the money to do
Pay
core
policemen.
functions of government,
Yeah.
I'm fine.
I
But it
got a
doesn't
que-
sound like we need.
I got
core
a
functions
I got
of
a
government
question
money.
about that.
Yes, sir.
Now, we have money budgeted for these ditches,
There's $96,000 fund.
right? So,
That's just straight up out of the general fund.
right.
Look how much we
So
have.
what we are talking about, how's that gonna affect that?
It would, leave it alone.
Okay.
Just
It would
other
just
projects.
be anything
Okay,
that
okay.
you would do to modify, because we're giving, our recommended budget gives the most relief possible.
Before you remember we said there was no more ditch work to be done.
But the only two that are in there are Mr. Somerville.
Right,
Ditch
right.
and-
After that was it.
And,
Arms.
Arm.
Right. After that was it.
And there's no more.
Well, it
anticipated
requires a
budget.
majority vote, it requires 5 out of 7 to be approved. That's what was decided.
I think this was approved, in the last council. This was approved in the last council.
But one meeting we had, I don't know, half a dozen meetings ago, it was decided that we take 5 out of 7,
For future projects.
For future
I think,
projects.
yeah.
I don't have a problem with that.
and that 96 wasn't that targeting the one going to the railroad track or
They
whatever?
did both of them,
Right.
based on the cost estimate that, Jason Walker gave me. Did both of them.
Okay.
It
I don't have a problem with
continued on beyond Aarontown, I don't know if it goes to railroad track, but beyond.
Well, yeah, that's right.
And then, the cost estimate he gave me for the, still gotta bid it out, but that's an estimate and budget.
Let's get this straight now. What he said was, if somebody can, I'm quoting what you're saying now, because we'll make this right.
It's in the notes, yeah.
You're saying that if council approves something, a majority, then we can do the work. That what you're saying?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
If
And no
there's a sit- yeah,
problem.
yeah, if there's a situation,
Okay,
we voted to, it would require 5 out of 7.
right.
for
I ain't got
approval.
no problem with
I
that.
thought we sent that to the lawyer.
But I would,
That policy hadn't been approved yet, but the moratorium was voted on before this
For 2
council, so
years,
y'all
yeah.
have to.
right.
do
But
that
I
if
will,
you was
I will point out to you that let's say these folks don't like what's going, I mean, y'all don't like the 5-3, cause 4 of y'all want to do X project, then you can make a motion to rescind the moratorium and to rescind the necessary 5 votes. So it's a token, it's a, you know, whereas if you borrow money or expenditures of 10,000, you know, you're required by state law to have a 2/3. Okay?
And
So
with-
how do we,
And with that, the work that's on Forest Drive, is that moving forward yet at all? Yes, okay. I need to,
I just gotta set this cash aside, that's the moving forward part that I ain't.
that's
we have that and we have the driveway on South Main,
Which part of Forest Avenue you talking about?
across the
222.
street from Mr. Dive,
Where
where
we
they're
did-
gonna
where we
stop the
did-
water from coming across.
Where we did the
That's been
last
done
bus
public.
tour.
That's being done on public,
Yeah,
so that's why.
That's where we did the last bus tour, am I right?
Yes. But that's on public right away.
So, before we get too far down the road, how do we feel about the proposal of doing the 60%?
I made my point, but I feel like if we obviously are not hurting for general fund revenues, give our citizens a break.
Well, you gotta help me out, this is the first time doing a budget as a mayor and not finance chairman. So, we don't need to be voting on anything, we need to be conveying to you three gentlemen the council's wishes, is that right?
I'm letting you know that what you're gonna look at tonight, budget-wise, is based on 6% relief, 72 cents.
All right, does anybody object to, I'm straw polling you here, does anybody object to the 60% and leave that, or is that good with everybody?
Which is status quo.
Okay, it sounds like we good with that. Moving right along, sir.
Moving right along. All right. Look at the budget calendar. If I'm not mistaken, the ladies worked this out. And sadly, we had to learn a few years ago, you gotta have 7 days before you can adopt your budget after the public hearing. We have, if I'm not mistaken, a workshop scheduled for the 7th of June. After tonight, that will be the next meeting. And the 7th of June, oh, goodness, don't lose my glasses. Possible continued meeting for budget workshop continuation, and that is if you guys need it after tonight. June 28th would be the expected adoption, and the 21st, if I'm not mistaken, would be the public hearing. That's not on here, but the 21st would be the expected budget hearing, and that's about as late as you can wait on it.
Now, we had a couple of issues that we would've taken up, the concrete bid, stuff like, let's come back on the 7th. Because the next meeting is the 4th Monday, and that might stretch you out too much, so with no objections, we'll come back on the 7th, which is the first Wednesday we agreed on, okay?
To do what?
Any objections?
That'd be a good point. We may have some new Dominion numbers by then.
Right.
That may make-
Let's add to the schedule that we're gonna come back on June 7th. It's in your packet there, and we'll have the hearing on the 21st, and we'll meet again on the 28th to adopt and appropriate.
We would adopt the 26th, but we just don't have time. You gotta have 7 days.
For those that, obviously I'm one of them and don't wanna overly meet, just so you know, a lot of these are quick.
They're quick and
I
they're
mean,
required,
nothing.
you know? I mean, there's really
they're
no
at 7
option.
o'clock.
The
At
option
7
is on the
o'clock.
7th, and I wouldn't ask for that, except we don't meet till, what is it, 26th, something like that, so,
Because Juneteenth is the 19th. So.
right,
So we meet on the 26th.
26th, so.
These are all gonna be
We'll
7
have to meet
o'clock.
on the 26th and come back on the 28th.
7 o'clock, all these.
Is that agreeable to everyone? 7 o'clock?
You should be able to get through them unless there's a lot of commentary or questions at the public hearing. They're usually not terribly belabored.
No.
I'm gonna be here on June the 7th, because I'm out of town for a conference, but that's fine. You guys carry on.
All right.
And I'm having surgery June the 5th, so I don't know what my circumstances are gonna be either.
You have the surgery on the 5th?
Yeah.
Well, we'll play it by ear, but we'll go with this right now.
It's a special call, don't continue tonight.
No, I think you're right. I think it should be a called meeting. Okay, everybody happy with where we're going so far?
So the ad for the paper, it will go in on the 14th. Okay.
Sounds good to me. All right,
Moving on, calendar. Next item is your expenditures. And I'm gonna break my packet up a little bit so I can read it a little bit easier. I think there's 28 pages of expenditures. Starting with this particular page. Okay. And we can go department by department if you choose. I think the finance committee looked at some of the stuff. But what I would like to do is point out the big differences in the budget this year. And if you go to the very last page, that's gonna tell you what the difference is. These are the capital projects. Okay?
Capital's in this operating budget here, it's not a separate budget.
27.
The last page of the packet. You look at what are our big activities on the expenditure side this year. And I think you can describe this year's budget as finishing up commitments that have been made over the past 2 or 3 years. We're really finishing up what previous councils had done. There's not a lot of new initiatives. We're gonna finally pay for that ladder truck. We expect that to be delivered in September. Barring things, issue, problem. There's $1,840,000 of expenditure for that truck in this budget, okay? $1,840,000. Of that, $1,050,000 is grant. $270,000 is cash on hand, which includes $200,000 the county gave us last year, okay? Plus a year of apparatus money, okay? Make sure my math is right, but $1,050,000, 520 loan, and $270 of cash on hand. The $270 we've got sitting in the bank right now. Is my math right? Did I miss them?
How much is loan? 500
$1,050,000
is loan?
is grant.
What is loan?
520,000. If you go through in the revenue side, you'll see loan proceeds, 520. You'll see cash on hand, 270, which will be lumped in with some armory money. And then you've got the $1,050,000, which should be under a USDA grant line item in the revenue.
I believe I know the answer for this, but I'll ask it for the benefit of everyone. You've already had this loan secured and the rate secured?
We do.
Good job.
How long is the loan?
I think it's maybe 20 years.
Most 20 is what
I'd have to go back and look.
I think.
And what's the, do you know
10
the,
years?
20, I think.
20 years, I think, but I can find out for you.
do you know what the payment is?
She's got 6 months of payments in there? I think it's about $30,000 for 6 months of payments, so it'd be about $60,000 a year, about $5,000 a month. Ish.
Thank you.
Hefty one.
That's a big truck. But that's why we paid off several items last year. We didn't completely raise 5,000,
Knowing we had this coming.
but we raised a couple $1,000. There was a principal and interest line item in there. I think it was about $30,000 principal and interest. And we've got 6 months of payments, I believe. Is that correct, Becky? Or did you do 6 months? Because they say September, but you know when that truck's gonna show up? Maybe December, but taking a whack at it, we just showed 6 months of payments. Other capital items. You got the armory. Armory, 3.88, 3,881,000, I think, is the expenditure figure for the armory. Okay? Of that, 2,200,000 is ARPA. 1 million is in industrial revitalization fund grant, and 581,000 is tobacco commission. We don't have any local dollars going into that now. However, the mayor and Chastity knows this, we're running into some issues with the Department of Historic Resources on our last grant. Federal government declares to get our money, even though it's for furnishings and computer stuff, they want us to meet historic guideline standards. But if we were gonna do that, we should've got the tax credits and gone through that whole process. Like restoring the roof and keeping plaster instead of putting up sheetrock, stuff is gonna be crazy expensive. We may have to, for the kitchen, come up with Plan B, but that is not in this budget.
Excuse me.
And what's the amount on that one?
247
sorry,
is the application for grant. But they're coming back and telling us, no, we don't wanna have a metal roof on there now, we wanna have you take all those shingles off, recondition them and put them back on, things like that.
What's the cost of that?
But they're not gonna, they don't.
The
give you
same
money
as the
for it.
grant, the same as the grant.
They don't give you the money for it.
They'll give you the money, but you're gonna spend the amount of the grant to be
I
compliant, so
told you,
you're at
I
a
told you
zero.
by the time we
For those of
finish
you
all
that
this
were
shit,
here,
it'll be $6
the
million.
council, at the time, our
When do
financial
we
advisor
stop?
from VML Baco came down and advised not to use tax credits because it would elevate the cost of the project.
And keep on going and going, you
But
ain't
for
gonna
a
have the
small
money.
grant,
Then
5%
you
of the
more shit.
project, they want us to meet those standards just as though we were going through the whole thing. So, I probably, if that can't get fixed, we'll probably have to find Plan B for the kitchen. And we start working on that.
Will either one of the colleges provide anything?
Yeah, maybe, yeah, I don't think
I
that's
think,
out of the
yeah,
question.
I think that'll come, it'll come.
Yeah, it's for like broadband wiring and for chairs, tables, linens, furniture, all that kind of stuff. So we've got some work to do, and Mayor happened to be with me one day when we went over and met the architect, and we had a little conversation about it. 2 police cars in here. Those should be paid for through that ARPA money that the chief received. You're supposed to nod at this point.
It's 3,
3 cars. Excuse me.
all funded by ARPA money.
3 cars funded by ARPA. There is a bucket truck which will be paid for this year. And then this budget reflects us transferring $215,000 of cash on hand into the budget to pay for the bucket truck, which is, again, September, October, in the fall.
And Philip, what is that for? 'Cause I don't know.
That's for the electric department. You know those bucket
This-
trucks?
Okay, I
that
thought
go
so, but I
up?
wanted to ask, make sure, okay.
And I can't say we're having dramatic problems with any of ours, but one of them's got some age on it. They don't have very many miles because they don't go very far. But there's one has been in that capital improvement plan, and this was the year for the replacement. Dan actually ordered it 18 months ago. It just never got here. But our plan is, our expectation is that we can look at it. And we'll have 100% cash. There'll be no financing on that particular truck. I think Dan has $98,000 or $100,000 of regulators each circuit. And for those of you guys that didn't know, the town is broken up into 3 circuits in our electric system. West Entrance, Birch, and East Street. There's 3 circuits. Past few years, we replaced the breakers in each of the circuits. This year, current, we're replacing the first voltage regulator, and there's 2 more to go. One in this upcoming budget, and then 1 more year. And the cost this current year for the regulator was $98,000, so we just paired that. Okay. For those of you unfortunate enough to have to use the town hall bathrooms recently, there's $40,000 in new fixtures, new sinks, taking out the tile, things like that, and just kind of reconditioning the 2 bathrooms here downtown. There are 2 other items that are not on your chart, and I mentioned them to Jackie, and I said I forgot to tell you about these because I didn't think about it until before the meeting. The aeration system, one of our water tanks is scheduled to receive an aeration system, which is supposed to help with our THM numbers. And if you go into our water and sewer department expenditures, you'll see there's a $120,000 line item to install that in 1 water tank. And I think this is something that Ed had asked for some months ago.
Mr. Van Orbeck, take a moment and explain. I had to ask what these aerators are, where they are, because I was thinking we just aerated the
Reservoir.
reservoir, so if you will.
Part of the reason you want to keep aeration in there is it helps dissipate some of the chlorines, okay? And I'm not a chemist, but keeping the water moved and agitated and bubbled and air included in it, because water can sit in our tanks for extended period of times, and that chlorine can build up. That is part of the reason that we want to keep the water recirculated or recycled.
And these aerators are, while we just did the reservoir, these will be going in the water tank specifically.
For the same purpose. It'll be finished water. And please, I'll have Ed Harris come to the next meeting and give you a better description of exactly what it does.
No, we won't clean water,
Wait.
Philip, so.
That's
Is there
time.
anything for the chlorine, switch over at the
Nope,
water
I
treatment?
did not put anything in there for that. What Jake is asking about, we still use very old chlorine gas canisters, and they're dangerous. One of those things goes off, it's not a good situation. We haven't had a major problem. We did have a leak, a small, and the company came out and got it managed. But ultimately, we'd like to get away from chlorine canisters, and these are big boys, and chlorine gas it's not great. So there's a couple options. You can use UV, it's for disinfection. You can use UV, you can use hyperchloride, which is Clorox, and different sorts of things, but no, I do not have anything in there. And then the other item in the budget is $96,000 for the 2 private ditches. Those are probably your highlights.
But Farmville had a pretty bad leak up at the water plant about 8, 9 months ago, didn't they? Gas leak up there.
It wasn't that long ago. No, it was probably within the past 60 days. I had a call from Ed and said that one of the canisters was leaking, and the company that delivered the canisters came out and worked on it.
I think it's Prince Edward. Yeah.
It's Prince Edward maybe.
Prince Edward doesn't have water treatment.
Whatever it was down in Farmville, they had to evacuate.
May have
the
been
area and
Farmville.
everything.
May have been Farmville, right. Okay, excuse me, I misunderstood, but those are your big boys, and I can tell you, if we add nothing else, it's a full plate. With the Armory, that's gonna be a full-time effort. There's a lot going on, a lot to do in there. I know some other capital projects. I know there's some other capital issues. We've got things like Dillard Crawley. I don't have anything in the budget this year, that old building back there, if the condemnation or the eminent domain goes through, we're gonna have to sit down and deal with that. I don't have any dollars in there. We have some grants we'd like to apply for. We have some playground grants that Chastity is working on. There's one that's been awarded in Emporia, Greensville County, and we're applying for a very similar Kaboom grant, and Chastity's working on that. I don't have a lot of fancy in here, but be honest with you, we're paying off stuff that we've ordered some time ago, for the most part.
Do you want to explain what the three of us had mentioned about merits and salary?
we can.
Not mentioning merits, but the percent.
The recommended budget that we originally submitted had a 3% across the board cost of living for everybody. And I think the finance committee sat down and said, we'd like to do a little something more for the guys that don't make as much, because 3%
Guys
for
and girls.
the ladies and gentlemen that don't make as much. So this, what you see tonight, what's been delivered, anybody making under $35,000. And if you look on, there's a list in here that looks like that.
What page you on, Tony?
Just about at the very end, just in front of
The ones highlighted are the ones that receive 4%. Okay.
And I believe Miller was in somewhat of agreeance of what I was saying during that meeting, and you can go back and watch it if you want to try to get a better gist, but cost of living, I think, is kind of an easy way for somebody to just kind of go under the radar and not do anything above and beyond, or come just cheerful to work. So I would like for us to try to push and let our employees know that we're gonna try to lean towards merit increases. And obviously, we're gonna give out more merit increases each year instead of the cost of living, because we want people to come to work and give it their 110%. But right now, you can come to work and kind of skirt under the radar, and you're gonna get 6%, 4%, whatever it be. And I can tell you, most of our people will probably benefit from merits instead of cost of living, because they'd probably gain more.
The answer that I asked the finance committee if the police and employment committee could start working on this merit system and kind of get it in frame, so.
Yeah, I mean,
What do
there's
y'all
plenty of time
think?
to do it.
We got plenty of time, but it's just something that we probably need to get ready for next year's budget. Okay? Gomez, okay? Okay, all right.
Talk about, yes. So this hourly rate, this is what they're making now.
On that chart?
Yes, correct. So, okay, I just want to make sure.
Without the benefits.
About the 4%.
Yeah, that's just salary.
So in other words, you're gonna take 4% and add it to each one of these 35?
The ones that are highlighted,
Okay.
and 3% to the others.
I got you.
I know those are highlights. And obviously not expecting definitive answers tonight or anything like that. We still do have some time. We can have additional workshop. Seems better. Seems like that's probably where we're headed. And please do ask me questions, because if you look at some of this, there are some of these where people's salaries are split by different departments. For example, Dan Martin, I think, paid for electric and street. A third.
Yeah, so the main point is this chart is
That's
what
the
they
one
get, that's what they're
4%.
paid. But it may show up in different departments.
But when you're adding them up, make sure you ask Jackie how she's got some of the positions split by different departments.
So is tonight, if we're doing a workshop on the 7th, is tonight the night for questions about
Absolutely,
anything? we have?
please.
And if I don't know the answer, I'll get it.
And the only other caveat is if you wanna talk about specific personnel, that would be a closed session.
Understood.
And
Yeah, it's nothing.
before we move on from that, I was looking at, and so if someone does make 35,000 with the town of Blackstone, the benefits package without holiday pay is $6,000. That's what it all adds up to. It's all broken down in here with
Annually, you mean?
annually. Yeah, so it's a decent. Just want to make it known that it's what the insurance is worth. The insurance is what it is.
Yes, and I understand that this is why we might not get as many people retiring because of this
Because of the
insurance thing. I've understood, I've heard that.
We got really good benefits.
Go ahead, Wes. What did you have?
I mean, when it comes time, I mean, I have some things I was gonna ask about.
All right,
Well, I think that's why the
It-
budget
it's
committee,
time.
the
Okay.
finance
Is-
committee, we wanna hear from
Floor is
everybody.
yours, sir.
All right. Well, under the town council, the first one I was gonna ask about is the discretionary Christmas bonus. $18,000 proposed for 2024. And actual, what is January 23? Is that how much was actual as of now?
127.
I can tell you what that is. Philip, that's fire department. I don't know why it's always been placed under council discretionary. It's fire department Christmas bonuses.
Fire department Christmas bonuses in addition.
The town employee one.
Oh, wait.
The last person, the last finance director.
It's been under there for a while.
Like that, I
Yeah.
don't
You gotta do
know
something
why.
this time.
I
There you
didn't
go.
want to
Keep following my lap.
That is fire department Christmas bonuses in addition to the 29,000
No,
under the fire department?
so this discretionary Christmas bonus is town employees, not fire department. So what they usually do is full-time, I believe it's 200, and part-time gets 100.
I think where Mr. Gormas is going at with this, and it was my same thought, I actually have a note here on my copy.
We're going
We
from
budget
3,000
18,000.
Going from 2,800 to 18,000.
We budgeted 18,000, and we did the previous years as well, but we've never spent more than 5,000, which was in 2020. 2021, we spent 32, 2022, 27. We spent 28
I
this
think you
year.
gotta check the coding, because if you look at the total number of full-time employees, you got over 60, and $200 a pop. Is that what I'm talking about?
But you've never hit that.
Right, it may just be a coding that it wasn't coded correctly, but I can tell you
I'm
the,
not sure how she coded it
the
previously.
Christmas bonuses are more than $2,800. That would only be 14 full-time employees.
It is
So,
usually, it is
it's
usually
12 grand.
18,000.
It's usually what I'm sorry.
It is usually 18,000 that's spent for the Christmas bonuses for the town.
Just hasn't been,
It hasn't been
Coded.
Denoted correctly.
no.
That's for the
It is
fire
what it is,
department.
just no, you can't, it wasn't done properly.
So that's for the fire department and
No.
all of that.
That's just town hall.
Town employees, but if you look in the fire department expense budget, there's $29,000 in there for fire allowance.
Yeah, I'll get to that in a moment. I just,
Uh,
if you don't mind. I mean, I got a number of red circles here I was gonna ask.
Go ahead. I like.
We
seeing-
have over $100,000 in professional services and consulting services under town administration.
What page is that?
$70,000 for, that's on page 1 of 27.
Mhm.
And then 25, and then 10. I'm guessing that 10 is the one that was voted on the other night.
Hit me again, do what?
That 10,000, is that the 10,000 that was approved the other night?
3163 is the line.
Is that what I'm looking
No,
at?
that's human resources. If you remember, you guys wanted to have somebody come in and help us write benefits and policies and all that sort of thing. I interviewed somebody this week and they declined to take the work, so I'm going to re-advertise it. And but I did advertise a company or interview a company this week, and they didn't feel comfortable accepting the work. But that is that HR consulting. We haven't spent any of that. That's what was in the current budget, and we haven't spent any of it. And we
Just carrying over. And the IT professional services,
That's that Code Blue, if I'm not mistaken. Jackie, jump in if I say wrong, but I think it's Code Blue.
Code Blue is,
Yeah, the company that, say we get a new laptop, they come and set it up. Or if we have something with one of our computers,
They manage our server.
yeah, server.
Monitor all our
Backups,
computers and
software.
our phones.
okay. Does the county have employees that do that? I'm just curious.
I don't know if they
How they handle
Not
that?
that I know of. I'm not aware unless there's somebody that is really good at that kind of thing.
All right.
There was somebody, if you're, somebody qualified to do that position full-time here, would be a lot more than $22,000.
Yeah, I understood. I just didn't know what it was. And then 70,000 for professional services where it was 33 for 23. That's like double.
Well, that's just up to January what we spent, so that's really just a half a year reflected. On that January 2023, that
Okay.
33,000 is just half of what we spent
Okay,
this
well, that helps.
current year.
Makes-
Jackie, what do you code in there? Do you code
Tessie
Tessie?
gets coded in there.
With a-
She's also got $16,000 as a line item also for legal services, right? Under
The administration,
another line. No, I'd have to, it's on another page, but I know she had 40 hours worth of work at 150 an hour listed on that, if I did her math right. It was like $16,000. But it's
Tell me where it's at and I'll tell you, we'll go back and look it up. Is it in the water and sewer department?
Might be
If it
under-
is, it's typically for bond
it might-
council.
I think I think it's under police, if I remember, probably.
And I'm certain that I know, but I hadn't going straight to it.
That's fine.
20.
We'll go over it whenever we get to it.
All right. Well, that helps me understand some of that. If it's double, I mean, to use the term double dip, if it's covered under the 70, then
The only legal fees is Tessie, Tessie.
yeah.
The only other time recently, you've had to refer to a legal, other than Tessie, I haven't worked with anybody except for bond counsel services. And bond counsel services are typically when we close a utility bond, and that would typically be legal services. I think there's some legal services in our workforce housing program, we got $6,000 to help.
Well, I think we'll get to it in a moment. And I don't mean to tie everybody up on this, but
That's what we're here
what it's
for. Help yourself.
I guess it's line item 3325, janitorial services, $8,000.
Which page?
What page?
Page 2.
Town administration.
Page 2?
We used to have full-time employees that did cleaning services, and now it's our expectation to bid it out. So we bid it out in December when the gentleman retired, and this is how it's split up. It's been allocated by departments.
So it's a full-time position bid out and
It's
split
not a
out.
full-time
It's
position.
gonna be a
but
company
usually
that comes in.
company. And then different departments have allocated figures for janitorial services, town hall, water plant, library,
I
As a
did,
town budget though, I don't know why that wouldn't be just one janitorial service that number.
I think it's because everybody has separate, like, the police department has budget.
Yeah.
And then the water treatment has budget.
Yeah, I understand that. I
Administration,
still-
so like, depending on how much janitorial service each department needs, depends on how much is in their budget, but you're right, it would be a little easier if it was.
It would,
one
Could have
line
add
item.
them all up.
and to be able to sort, if you could sort on, but then, yeah, okay, well, we got contract for janitorial services. We going, okay, I guess since it's January, it's gonna be like almost $8,000, I guess, in office supplies. So we're at 10 for next year. All right, that answers that, I guess, now that I know it's January. I thought that was a typo, meant June, sorry about that. We have, and yes, this is kind of personal to me, Christmas decor, council discretion, 0. We don't wanna have a float, parade or anything.
I think something like that would typically be paid for out of discretionary funds from council, but if you guys, we talked, Billy really wanted a Christmas tree. Years ago, we didn't put a Christmas tree in.
Why would we plant one at the school, watch it grow, just decorate every year?
I think there is one that was
Kids grow
planted
up
years
with
ago. I think Jerry Johnson's donated Evergreen and Sea Park.
I think
Decorated in Sea Park. Now, we used to have a fresh tree, cut down a picket every year, and that sucker blew over 2 or 3 times.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying, but I just, I feel like we should do something, I mean, but it says discretionary, so it leads it to, somebody brings something to do.
We spent about $30,000 a few years ago. Decoration, the wreaths, the garlands, that sort of thing.
Oh, I'm sorry about that.
But we can.
We did talk about it one time up
It's the
here where we
worst
talked
place for it
about
to
how
be.
we got a tree every year. There's certain localities that have a manhole they pull up and then they set the tree in the manhole, like the manhole cover, like so that way it can be removable if you wanna use the square.
We had
We
a
did
big
talk about it.
Sewer pipe with gravel in it and held the tree up and wind. But that-
Yeah, I don't know, and just as an idea, I still think it'd be cool to have one plant, and it's a reason for a gathering, it's for people to come together, and every year we get, the little man over there could see it grow and show his
There's
kids.
one in Sea Park that was donated way before my time, and I don't know if any of you guys remember, but, if you're coming down Church Street and you look almost dead ahead, there's a evergreen tree.
Okay.
Jimmy Johnson, that lived on Main Street, probably people that lived
Considering all the chatter we've gone through and continue with code enforcement, we're only doing 1,500, and we've spent 6,000 as of January.
That's for the advertising on code enforcement, for the most part, certified letters, that sort of thing. If you want, we can certainly increase it.
we've overspent by that much, and
Well,
you're not recommending we go up?
But I think some of that may also be for Villa Crawley, things like that, which I hope we don't dig into every year.
Would that be split up with legal, or?
No, I think things like, well, I can't say the appraisals in there, you may have done that out of administration.
I got a bunch of stuff, man. I'm gonna-
Certified letters going in.
I got a question. That's something. I just wanna know what it is, cause, what is it, the purchase of, cigarette stamps? What is that? I'm sure it's something that's
What we
needed.
do, if you look on the bottom of a pack of cigarettes that's sold in the town of Blackstone, there's a little sticker. And every pack of cigarettes that's supposed to be sold in the town of Blackstone is supposed to have a little sticker. And so we buy the stamps, and then the companies that actually package these cigarettes, when the retailer orders them, they come with a sticker on there. So they buy rolls of stamps from us that we buy, and then we in turn,
Because we tax at 25 cents per pack.
Okay, so I don't smoke, so I would never know, but
there's a
okay,
little Blackstone sticker on it.
okay.
Now, I will tell you, we have done an audit, Chief and I, a time or two, and we found some cigarette packs that don't have the stamp.
No.
Put it together.
You're kidding.
They've been the same pack at least once, over
There's
a
professional,
investigation.
professional services under the water department too. That one's 40,000. Is that more like consultants or is that
Could be
legal?
engineering.
It's not legal. Okay. And then the HR consulting fees, they have it under the water department as well, and that was 7,500 plus you had the 10,000. So is that what it is through all departments? Is just the 17?
Consulting in the water too, you got me on that one?
Yeah, it's under page 24 to 27. $7,500 allocation. But I thought we had pulled back from the HR thing when we didn't get bids the first time. I thought we decided we weren't gonna do that. No, we
We'll
didn't?
never pull
Oh.
back.
Yeah, we want that.
Okay. Page 24 on 27.
You
Second,
got me on that?
second from the bottom.
That can be struck and added into the other. You wanna do it?
You wanna add it to,
Back to the original administration.
Should be 10,000, right?
Oh,
Add
they-
that to the 10,000.
Yeah.
So that's a total of 17.
That's a running to do with the water too.
This one was really interesting. I have no idea, of course, but committee meeting payments, $2,500.
Board of Zoning Appeals and Planning Commission are paid $50 per meeting to come to meeting.
What?
Planning Commission and Board of Zoning Appeals, when they come to a meeting, they're paid $50 per meeting.
That's fairly new. We just,
How many meetings do they have? How many people are there?
5 on each. And we probably have 3 BZA meetings a year. And
Maybe 3 or 4 planning commissions.
Maybe more than that. I think,
Five
it's six,
planning
I
commission.
think we met 6
Any-
times this year.
we don't have any Planning Commission cases scheduled anytime soon. We certainly won't have any more.
Okay. That's interesting.
Look, I got a question.
Yes.
Under 8720, it says weatherization, 24 out of 27. It says weatherization program 000 all the way across.
Weatherization program is an expense.
Yeah, right here on 24 it says weatherization program. You got zeros.
For the
all
electric
across.
meters.
It may be in a different location, but there is a $50,000 transfer from the electric department because there's an expenditure in the general fund for weather.
When that's supposed to be 100,000 this year?
Actually 90,000 because we should 40,000 coming from the county.
Okay,
9203.
Got
got
you.
it right.
Okay.
There's 50,000 local and then we've also got 40,000 that we expect from the county. I think there was some bump, we talked to the county administrator, I think, Mr. Green was on the Economic Development Committee meeting I was with and asked him about it, and he said it was not in their current budget. And then I think you guys talked about it and talked to the board members, and our expectation is $40,000 additional weatherization money will come from the county. They've given us 50 already. We asked for 100 and they asked us to level the request down to 40. And if you look at the expenditures in the general fund, there's actually a $90,000 weatherization.
That's on page 11 out of 27, just for your reference.
And how does DBI funding go to zero from 26,000 as of January?
Because they're funded by the
Good,
town,
funded by
then,
the
so
town
it's a
now.
different line item. Because they're funded, they're paid by the town.
They're on a different line. On the line trick, is that it? All right.
Christmas stuff.
Put it in the Santa fund. All right. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
That's what I was
It becomes an employee.
It kinda jumps out at me.
It shows it's an employee.
The town
It was a donation.
What about the donation?
It had been a donation.